You'll see it. Well, awesome. This is Michael Mann, host of Planetary Health First, Mars Next. I'm super excited. We have Gina here. Introduce yourself real quick, Gina.
Yeah, my name is Gina Bennett. I'm the Chief Product Officer of a company called Construction Check. I'm a solutions architect with an organization called Punch Group. And I've been a startup founder, a startup coach for about 5 years now. And my mission in life is to try and teach founders how to be CEOs and let go of their tech.
Yeah, so what is the big problem with technology? I mean, I imagine lots of founders go into it. They want to solve a problem. It's all about solving a problem. That's the first thing. Don't do anything if you don't really have a passionate problem that you want to solve or a customer that wants that solved. But it usually involves SaaS. It usually involves technology. What are the pitfalls that happen with this?
Look, the biggest pitfall is that founders have a great idea, and most of them are everybody's a user of technology, right? You got phones, you got all this stuff that you use. So you know how you want it to work, but you don't know how to make it so. And what do? They go to Upwork, or they talk to a friend who has like a team in offshore, and they start getting something built, but they don't know what language it's been built in. They don't know what, how is it going to be supported? They're pretty much kind of flying blind and getting raked over the coals most of the time because they don't know how long it takes to do some of these things.
So what's the first thing a founder should do when they're revolving? Obviously, you don't want to go out there and hire developers immediately. What do you do? What's that process look like?
Well, honestly, the thing that I do with all of my entrepreneurs is I take them through a process where I have them just dump all of their ideas out on a table, and they have to categorize it by marketing, by software, by product, and by sales, right? So this is the way to organize all their ideas and just throw everything out on the table. So when you talk about marketing, that means your website, that means your logo, your email marketing, which is about your social media and stuff like that, right? And when it comes to software, it's like, what do you want it to do, right? Do you want it to have, to take pictures or record stuff? Do you want it to, like one of our founders, they said they wanted it to be able to track, to be able to put in a zip code and tell it how many health code violations their water utility has, right? So say that and then write it all down. And even the things that are on your wish list, right? Put them down. For sales, who do you think that you're going to sell it to? Your product, do you have IP that you need to deal with? Do you have patents that you need to file? Do you need to file a trademark? All that stuff around the product. Do you need packaging? These are all things that you need to think about, and I try to get them to pour it all out on the table. Once they do that, then we say, okay, what is the absolute minimum viable product that we need to build to be able to show that what you're trying to do makes sense?
So what do you do with so I like how you're kind of UXing or sort of getting it all out there. And I liked how you talked about the different categories from marketing to product to packaging. And I liked how you then ended really with the minimal viable product, which is so important, like the lowest, least cost to see if it's out there, to get it out there, the demo. And but what do we do as a startup from idea to getting it there? It seems like that's a tricky sort of thing.
It really is. And the thing is that's where, I wish there were more companies like Punch out there, because what we do at Punch for these founders is we talk to them about like what they're trying to build, and we figure out what's the most efficient way to build it where you won't have to throw everything away when you want to start growing, you know, and we make sure that they own their IP, you know, they own their code, they know how to make decisions about it, and try to give them, you know, something that's not going to be dated like the minute it comes out, especially in this environment right now with AI being like the forefront of just about everything. Um, People come up with ideas for things that look like they were built in, you know, 2010, and it's 2024, 2025. You know?
Yeah, so like that would be like, I would say like your brand essence, like making sure that that brand possesses a sort of timelessness or accurately up to date kind of how we as people relate to things, product, I guess.
Right. And the challenge right now, for founders, I think that they're in we're in a kind of a nexus right now, because there's a way that we're all used to interfacing with computers and phones and stuff, and it's all forms based, and it's all like you see something and, you know, you touch like or something like that. And that whole thing is getting thrown out the window with things like ChatGPT and, you know, conversational AI and text to speech and, you know, all of this stuff. And we're having to, while they're having their great ideas, we're having to think about, well, what is the future of interfacing with these things like? Somebody said it's actually a lot like when the PC first came out in the 1980s, right? When 1984 came out and that PC came out, everybody wanted it, but nobody knew what to do with it, right? But it changed the world, right? It was the foundation of pretty much everything that we use to live life the way we have it now.
And we were talking earlier before we went on about this 2025 as the manifestation sort of also. I know I'm getting off
Yeah, it's
topic,
okay.
but to me, that is really the crux of being a founder is you're really willing something into capacity. Can you articulate kind of that aspect too of being a founder?
Absolutely. I'll tell you, it's one of the hardest things of being there. There's a hierarchy, right? Founders can be all kinds of people, but, you know, you kind of start out as a student, you know, and you're like learning what you want to do and with your life kind of a thing. And then you go to, you become either an employee. I think everybody needs to be an employee at least at some point in their life so that they know whether that's something they want to do or they want to be a solopreneur, right? And it's like, I'm not working for the man, I'm going to work for myself, right? And so now you trade the 60 to 80 hour a week job, you trade that in for a 120 hour to 200 hour a week job, right? And then, but then that there's, and some people stop there and that's great, right? Mm-hmm. Any of these things are great, but to be a founder, you got to keep going, right? So then maybe you say, why am I doing all this stuff myself? I should be hiring people to do some of this so I can focus on this piece here. And then you become a business owner, right? Mm-hmm. And a business owner is a great place to be. What do you want to grow up when you be a business owner? Maybe the height of it is you want to be Chick-fil-A, right? Or Home Depot or something like that. And that is all you care about is chicken, right? That's not an entrepreneur. Now, the entrepreneur is different from a business owner. We need business owners in the economy. That's important. Otherwise, you don't have hotels and you don't have like barbershops and you don't have grocery stores. You need business owners. But the entrepreneur is the person who builds something and they say, you go take this and make something else of it. I want to start something else over here. And they've got like so many ideas that they want to they're always looking for an exit because they want to get on the next thing. Once they've figured out how it works, they're done. They want to move on. And that's kind of the pinnacle of that hierarchy. But then there's even more, because what you want to do is, if you're a successful entrepreneur and you exit multiple times, which is the dream everybody has, is that IPO or that big, Series A, Series B, whatever, and you make that pot of cash for doing something you love and you get out. Well, after you do that once or twice or three times, how much money do you need, right? And so that's when you turn around and you get to the next rung of the ladder. And that's an investor. And so now you start putting money back into that economy, and you start growing that pipeline of people who want to be like you. But anywhere they end up on that ladder is a good thing for the community as a whole, right?
So tell me more about this community, because I think of like Andreas and Horowitz, which is a really good owner operated, experienced, VC that really makes sure that they have that knowledge, and now they're constantly investing in the latest and greatest, that those jockeys that they find out there in the ether. And I like how you're saying that, because there are VCs that get a bad rap because a lot of times they're for predatory sort of, the way they do it. They maybe, they invest, and then they also can take and not add value, but really building this community of things that are exponential, that are accelerating, that weren't possible, is what I would think is the best way to look at it in this world.
But it's even bigger than that, right? Because at the end of the day, this is the heartbeat of our society, right? I mean, you get kids who go into school. I'm on an organization called Innovate Georgia, and it's a consortium of all of the entrepreneurial studies programs across the state, right? I mean, your Georgia Tech, your GSU, your University of Georgia, even the little colleges, they're all a part of this. And every one of them has like an entrepreneurial studies program. But what does that mean, right? What are you trying to build? At the end of the day, what they're trying to do is they're trying to give people the right skills to be able to go out and contribute to society and make a living, but still be a part of the community. Because at the end of the day, you make that money goes, you spend it at somebody else's store, and it's circular. So it's an innovation economy that you're trying to foster, right? And like I said, with that sense of community, there's industries. This is when I say that it's the lifeblood. Look at S&P 500, right? There's a global industry classification standard that they use that defines it by 11 different categories, from energy to healthcare to all of the things, right? And those break down to others. All of these different businesses align to those, right? That you're doing. You're in one of those industries. And the investors, the problem that we have is it's not clear where these people line up, right? You've got investors who are like, they're doing a little bit of tech over here. There's very few investors that are like Andreas, and who says, this is my industry. This is what I'm going to build on, and I'm going to bring people to it, right? If everybody was like that, then you could like pull it. It's like pulling the kids in class to the right, to the right group.
Yeah. So you're talking a lot about a community and mindset. Tell us a little bit in your experience working with entrepreneurs. Where do they get it wrong with the product and the challenge with building the tech? Can you tell us some of the pitfalls, the nightmares, and kind of reassess kind of that mindset that they should be in before they get going with too much investment in technology or hiring developers?
Yeah. I will tell you, in my experience, they tend to burn a lot of dollar bills on a road for something that is vaporware. It's like you've got to, like, at least as a technical project manager, I've done projects for everybody from Dell to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers to Citibank, right? And you name the platform I've worked on. But when I run those projects, every single week, I know what my team is going to deliver to me, and I have to, it's not just like they tell me about it, they have to show it to me. It's a show and tell type of thing. And I think that a lot of founders, especially because when they have to deal with technology, they're afraid, and they say, well, they know the stuff I don't, so maybe I shouldn't. No, you've got to demand that, what am I going to see, and hold their feet to the fire. And don't be afraid to cut them off if they don't deliver, because there's no sense in throwing good money after that. The first time they miss their deadline, if they don't follow up like the next day, cut them loose.
Mhm.
That's not the kind of developers you want working.
So I think like Y Combinator, one of their big things is YC Combinator is that they're really big on two founders. You either have a CEO type and then you have a CTO, the technical founder. Um, do you encourage that as well, that kind of philosophy, in order to mitigate these build outs of developers and a product to nowhere?
What I tell people when they come to me for coaching
Mhm.
is I'm going to teach you how to be a CEO,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And you don't like start out the gate with an entire C-suite.
Mhm.
That doesn't make sense. What you
Mhm.
want to do to become a CEO, first you got to like start letting go of some of these things and find people that you can trust to operationalize the things that you need,
Mhm.
like marketing, like software development, right?
Mhm.
Maybe even things like, if you've got like manufacturing and stuff like that, you need to bring in. And one of the things that people do is they try and find like that one person. They grab them and say, oh, you're the person who's going to do it. One person can't do that stuff.
Mhm.
And the thing that I've seen over and over again is go find a shop that you can pay a flat fee and you can like rotate resources that you need, because this week you might need a graphic designer,
Mhm.
and next week you might need a developer, and the
Mhm.
week after that you might need somebody who can do network stuff because you got to set up your cloud. It's
Yeah.
like you cannot as a founder afford all of those things
Mhm. So
on your
how,
budget.
so how are they able to do that resourcefully? What do you recommend within the budgetary restraints to do that?
I would tell any founder, like, don't spend any more than, like at minimum a couple $1,000 and at maximum $10,000 on an MVP.
Mhm.
Unless it's something that requires a lot of hardware or something like that, especially when you're talking about software. Because I work with we had a Water Tech and Techstars first Water Tech and Sustainability cohort out of Tuscaloosa, just graduated.
Mhm.
Some of their founders, they need sheet metal manufacturing and stuff. That's a
Mhm.
little bit more expensive.
Yeah.
You're talking $50,000 there
Yeah.
when you talk about that. But when you're talking about like a piece of software that's going to be telling you, that's not something that should cost you that much, especially, but you've got to have trust that the team you put your money on is actually going to deliver. And that's where, I'll say it again, that's where Punch comes in, because
And so what do you guys do exactly? What is Punch, the organization you're with, and what's your role there?
I'm actually a customer, but I'm also now a technical solutions architect for them, because I bring startups that I've worked with to my partner Verity Aragon, because it's the first time in my life where I can speak it and say, this is what you need to do, and there's a team that can actually deliver on what I'm saying needs to be done without a lot of hand holding.
So they're like a product, a really agile product
They're an
like,
agile engineering and design firm.
Okay.
That specializes in enterprise level software and AI. And I'm
Okay.
like, how can we give startup founders enterprise level services at upward prices? And
Okay.
that's what Birdie does.
Wow. And so what vertical industry that are they in or not in? Kind of what's
We're
the
in
bandwidth?
everything.
Okay.
And the thing is that the reason I can say that is because Birdie and I are very similar in that sense, because you name the industry I've been in. I started out in manufacturing with GE. I went to insurance with doing policy and big old mag tape reels. I did banking. I did supply chain. I did HR for a number of years. So I did payroll and all. I mean, name a system, name a thing, I've done it, right? So there isn't many industries that intimidate me in terms of like, tell me about it. If I don't know it, I'm going to learn it, and I'll learn it from you.
Yeah.
Because you are the expert.
Yeah. Tell me, you were talking about the 2025, like manifesting kind of like Are we going to get into that, a little bit of that?
Sure, we can. I'll tell you, my thing about 2025 is, I don't know that people realize it, but we are at the end of the first quarter of the 21st century.
Mhm.
That's major,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And what are we going to do with the next quarter of this century?
Mhm.
You know, and there was an article that I read very recently. I'm a firm believer in neuropsychology and cognitive behavior theory. And the article I read said that the brain is a predictive machine, right? So it doesn't like go in and say, oh, this is new, let me figure out. It's like, it's pattern matching to everything that you've ever experienced to figure out, is this good or is it bad? What is it like, right?
Mhm.
And then it does that. So once you realize that your brain is a predictive machine, think about like how the level of anxiety that we put into like doing something like being a startup,
Mhm.
right? And it's like, okay, I'm going to do this, but what if the people don't like it? What if this doesn't happen? What if that doesn't happen? And you make mitigation strategies to make yourself feel better,
Mhm.
right? And that calms your nerves and everything. But what you've just done is you've given the other 90% of your brain that you're not using a job to do, which is, here are all the things that she's looking for to go wrong. Look for it. You ever like go to buy a car, like a Kia, and all of a sudden, every time you're driving down the road, you never realized there were that many hundred of Kias like
Yeah.
driving around? It's the same thing. It's retinal activation syndrome. And that's what you're doing to your brain. So I came to the conclusion, literally in the last month, that if you, and I tell people this, like my founders, I tell them this, what do you want to do? Say it like you mean it. Put it on a calendar and say, on this day, I will have this many customers. Not all the reasons it'll go wrong, but on this day.
Mhm.
And once you say that, and you don't like make excuses for yourself, you'll be amazed at how that 90% suddenly finds experiences and things that remind you that that's what
So
you
I
do.
like this. It's like willing the universe into your universe, like willing yourself, like that will, that guttural, some sort of mystical.
It's quantum.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
quantum physics.
Yeah.
If it's meant for you, we're all connected,
Yeah.
right? This is
Yeah.
Einstein. This isn't like you can.
Yeah. I love it. So as we're kind of wrapping up, Bitcoin or no? You're a Bitcoin person or not? What do you think? Yes or no?
I think that it is the future of where it's going to go, but I think that energy prices need to go way down for that. Number one, and number two, I'm afraid to play with it. To be
Okay.
honest with you.
All right. So maybe an ETF. Would you maybe get a little ETF now that everyone says you can have 1 to 2%?
I would do, actually, I would go into Circle's USD stablecoin,
Okay.
which is tied to the US dollar
Okay.
and is backed by the SEC.
Okay. So what do you buy that in? What platform do you get that in? Because that's another issue with Bitcoin. Do you can you get that in Coinbase
You
or
can
something?
get it in Coinbase. You can get it in all of those. I would use Circle.
Okay, Circle.
I would use Circle.
Okay.
Because they're a payment gateway that actually supports USD and can transfer to normal banks and can trade in other currencies.
I've gotten to start getting into Bitcoin. I'm doing through my retirement ETF with Fidelity, and then also I'm into MicroStrategies. And of course, MicroStrategies is the #1 holder of Bitcoin, and then also Tesla. If you own Tesla, you're the 5th largest holder of indirectly of Bitcoin. It's fascinating. So that's a big thing that and health this year, trying to just own my own health. Gonna try to get into more intermittent fasting, some ice polar plunging. We're gonna try that out, and some just eating some just healthier.
Oh, you've got to talk to Verdi.
Yeah,
you got to talk to Verdi. He's vegan, no oil.
Wow, yeah, getting rid of those seed oils. They're supposedly horrible for us. So,
I don't understand that. That's
they're all processed, supposedly. I mean, really. So olive oil is good.
Olive oil is good.
Avocado oil, maybe like coconut or butter, but these are ghee.
Well, see, now he doesn't even do like, and vegan means like ghee and butter. And
all I like beef. I'm gonna still eat beef. I think meat's good for us. I mean, it's just trying to be more natural. But anyway, that's a whole nother.
That's a whole nother episode.
So where do we end? I don't know. Next time so wrapping it up, we've talked some good stuff about tech, trying to own your own tech, starting as you start up.
You know what
Yeah.
I'd say? I'd say if you're a person with an idea of something you want to try, go for it. What's the worst that could happen is you fail. But fail, it isn't failing, you'll learn something from it. And the next time you'll do it better. And the next time you'll do it better. Who's going to criticize you for failing besides yourself? You're your own worst critic.
Well, Gina, it's been great to have you on. Can you tell the viewers, audience, how to find you? You know, obviously you're a champion for startups. You've got a lot of tech background. Where's the easiest, best way for people to find you?
The easiest, best way for people to find me is at punch.cool or at constructioncheck.io.
Cool. Awesome. Well, this has been great to have you on. And until next time.
That was fun. Did I do
We're,
okay?
oh no, we're still recording.
We're still-
We're almost there.